The current government has come into power for the third term. People have restored their confidence in the government. What better way to give them a thanks in terms of announcing certain tax reliefs? The focus of the government has always been towards simplification of tax structure to ensure the tax is no longer taxing. On the same principles, we've got two regimes around in terms of the new personal tax regime, the old regime. I'm going to divide my discussion into these two parts and all, and discuss about the tax relief which may come into picture under each of the regime. First, taking up the new personal tax regime. The new personal tax regime, it was introduced in budget 2020. What it provides was that in terms of concessional tax rate, where an individual foregoes certain deduction exemptions. So when you look at deduction exemption in terms of the HRA for the rent what we pay, housing loan, the interest on that, in terms of the LTA benefits, the common ATC limit of 1,50,000, etc. These kind of deductions were not allowed under new personal tax regime. It provided 6-layer structure with concessional tax rate as compared to old regime which provided for 4. Around 70 deduction exemption out of more than 100 deduction exemption were removed, and the remaining were to be looked into and rationalized. When you look at budget 2023, the entire focus has been on the new personal tax regime. Whatever changes in the personal tax have come into play, they have been related only with the new personal tax regime. The basic exemption was raised by 50,000. For the lower level income people, up to 7 lakh, no tax, full tax rebate was given. In terms of the surcharge for people having income exceeding 5 crores, it was brought down. The maximum margin rate was brought down from 42.74 to 39%. Standard deduction was introduced, 50,000 standard deduction, a new personal tax regime, which was a very welcome move to encourage people to opt for it. On the same lines, if you look at this budget might again, promote new personal tax regime. And what can government do around it? When you look at, the current structure, the slab rates under new personal tax regime, we've got a 6-layer structure. From income up to 3 lakhs, there's a no tax. From 3 lakh to 6 lakhs is a 5%. From 6 lakhs to 9 lakh is 10%. And again, from 9 to 12 is 15%. 12 to 15 lakhs of income, you got 20%. And above 15 is 30%. Flat around there. So what we feel is the government might introduce in terms of, for middle income level growth, additional slab might be introduced from 15 lakhs to 20 lakhs of level of income in between falling. Tax rate at around 25%. And above 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs might come into picture. So this is something, which might be there to encourage the middle group also to, opt for it. Because again, in the last budget, you got lower income level getting some benefit, super rich people getting benefit because lot many have shifted to, new personal tax regime, given the reduction in surcharge rate and all. So that is happening. So this could also be there in terms of, the additional slab might be introduced under the new personal tax regime. Very limited deductions are allowed, exemptions to be claimed under new personal tax regime. One of that is employers' contribution to national pension scheme. Now, employers' contribution to national pension scheme is there up to 10% of the salary. It could be increased. The government can look at increasing it to 12%, aligning it with the PF. But of course, there is an additional perk which gets triggered where the contribution of the employer to PF, NPS, and superannuation is beyond 7.5 lakhs. Additional perk along with accretion thereon gets triggered as subject to taxation. So that play would need to be seen. However, this limit of 10 to could be increased to 12%. Now, in terms of the NPS benefit, the salaried individuals are only getting the benefit where the employer is making contribution. The non-salaried individuals do not get any benefit under the new personal tax regime. Under the old one, you got a deduction for whatever contribution I make around it, self-contribution to NPS, you get a deduction of 50,000 rupees. So that could also be introduced under the new personal tax regime to ensure that the non-salaried individuals also get something for their own contribution. Of course, it's going to benefit the salaried also around it. So both will be benefit around this. So this could also be looked into. It will make it more appealing to the people, and people might more opt for it. So in terms of the old regime, okay, although the government's focus is towards the new personal tax regime, but if they were to look at the old regime also, there are low hanging fruits which could be looked into. One is the children education allowance and the hostel allowance. The limits have been age old. So you got 100 rupees per month per child, from a children education allowance. Okay. And hostel allowance current ceiling is around 300 rupees per month per child. This could be increased to 1500 per child, and the hostel allowance to 3000. So this could be looked into. The government came into power in 2014. At that time, the basic exemption limit was revised by 50,000. ATC limit was revised by 50,000. You got a housing loan interest reduction that was also revised by 50,000 around. These limits have not been revised for more than a decade. They could also be looked into, because ATC is very common limit and all, where people invest and they look at those savings, then deduction to be there, which could increase the purchasing power if the tax liability goes down and all. So that could also be looked into. The deduction of 2 lakh for housing loan interest is available subject to certain conditions. One of those conditions is that the construction should be completed within a period of 5 years. Housing projects get delayed. And again, this is not account of fault of the taxpayer. He's investing the money, he's relying on the real estate developer and all. But in case they get delayed, the deduction of 2 lakh, if the housing is not complete within 5 years, this goes down to 30,000. Probably government can look at increasing, the speed of 5 years to 7 years also around it. In terms of the LTA benefit that is available for the domestic travel within India, many people, go outside for vacations and all. So probably that exemption of LTA could be extended for foreign travel also. HRA per se, when you look at HRA, you got the capping of 50% still available only for metro cities: Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata. Probably more tier 2 cities could all be ending, which are coming up. Be it be NCR region, Bangalore, Pune, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, which could be looked into for this deduction capping also 50%. One of the common question which arises is that, is old regime going to stay? Look, the intention of the government is to promote the new personal tax regime, but I feel the old regime is going to stay for a while, because many people have a lot of expenses, deduction, exemption to claim around it. Government has given you the flexibility to choose the regime as per your choice, whatever is your personal circumstances. If you're having some housing loan, donations, ATC deduction and all, you marry a parameter over there in terms of what is best to you. They provided you a tool also online where you can choose which regime is there. So the intention of the government is like to provide the flexibility around it, and the individual can choose what regime would be more beneficial to him or her as per his choice.